My name is Haley Scott. For those of you who don't know me, and hoping to get to know those of you I don't know better this year, get rid of some junk. Okay. So we're going to do some general housekeeping, but first I was just going to do a little devotional. So I homeschool. I have 3 girls that I homeschool, and we were doing science 2 weeks ago, and it was just really cool. And so we're doing a science lesson today because it was really cool. And so we're studying earth science this year, and it's like, well, you can't really know about the earth unless you kind of understand better your place as earth in the universe. So the first chapter in our book was just all about the universe. And so, of course, Genesis 1:1 is what? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And so we know from that the earth is special, that, we don't have to worry about aliens and other things. Like, God made the heavens to declare his glory. We are his handiwork. The rest of creation, he worked on the earth, and all those things reflect glory and majesty. But the heavens are just really for us to just know that he's God. And Psalm 104:24 says, "How countless are your works, Lord. In wisdom you have made them all." And Hebrews 11:3 says, "By faith we understand that the universe was created by God's command, so that what is seen has been made from things that are not visible." So, of course, in science, the observable universe is something that they have to talk about, because we can't even explore, with all our technology and everything that's in existence now, we can't even explore the ends of the universe. We're just so limited. So scientists have a term called the observable universe. And even from there, they don't even have enough people to count stars and galaxies. And so they have estimates, and this is just from what they can observe today. So just to give you a picture of how big our universe is, okay, so we're in our solar system, our Earth and our planets and our sun, and that's all in our galaxy, the Milky Way, and outside of that's the universe. And so if you could travel the speed of light, which is pretty fast, we could get from Earth to moon in 1 second. Okay, so that's how fast the speed of light is. We could be on the moon in a second. If we could keep traveling at that speed and try to get to the edge of the galaxy, just our galaxy, the Milky Way, at the speed of light would take 100,000 years. Is that, that's our galaxy. Is that crazy? So, we can't explore that far. We're just so limited. On average, our galaxy, the Milky Way, they think we have about 400 billion stars just in our galaxy, the Milky Way. But again, it's kind of hard to count that many. So on average, though, it's estimated that most galaxies in the universe have about 100 billion stars each. Okay, so each galaxy in our universe. Right now, they're estimating, based on the observable universe, that there are probably 2 trillion galaxies in our universe. And so that would be about 200 billion trillion stars, or 200 sextillion. And here we are on planet Earth in our tiny little... But God made that for us to declare his glory and the glory of his handiwork. And I'm trying to teach the girls, and my brain can't even understand how little we are and how big that is. And yet the Lord, does he not know the hairs on our head, Psalm 8 says, O Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth, who have displayed your splendor above the heavens. From the mouths of infants and nursing babes, you have established strength, because of your adversaries, to make the enemy and the revengeful cease. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have ordained, what is man that you take thought of him, and the son of man that you care for him? And that chapter ends with, O Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. And that's just so amazing. Psalm 147:4 says he determines the number of the stars, and he gives all of them names. That's not too hard for God. He numbers all of them, and he gives them all names, because why not, We can't fathom how many there are, because, we're limited. Anyway, so there's your science lesson for the day, and just a neat reverence for just our amazing God. All right, so now today's kind of easy. If you guys have your schedule, it should be, my sheet's white, but yours is purple. And so this is our schedule for this fall. Today is kind of simple. We're just going to go through kind of general housekeeping, orientation, welcome. Normally our teaching will be about 45 minutes, and we're not having a teaching today, so we'll be a little bit faster than that, which will be kind of sweet because you guys will get a little more group time to get to know one another and all of those things. So as you go through each week, the lessons that are listed there, that's what the teaching is going to be about when you come. So next week, the teaching is going to be on lesson 1. And in your books, lesson 1's Romans 1 through 17, okay? You guys are going to go home today with those books, and you're going to do homework for lesson 1. And you're going to come next week, and you'll have learned all these things, and you'll hear a teaching about it, and then you'll go to your group, and you'll discuss, okay? This book is really cool. It's called Joy of Living, and it reminds a lot of us of Terry's writings, just not with her amazing personal touch. So just think of Terry while you read it. It'll almost be the same. There's 6 days of lessons for each week, which might sound like a lot, but they go pretty quick. They're in depth and they're good, but it's not like, you need 2 hours every day to get your lesson done. It's pretty manageable. As you go through the lesson, I don't know if every lesson has it, but there's a challenge question or sometimes a series of challenge questions, and that's just kind of digging a little deeper. I don't feel like I'm the smartest person in the room, but I can get through those and learn a little bit from them. And so if you have time to do the challenge questions, again, we're studying Romans, in case you hadn't noticed on your book, and Romans is a book of the Bible to teach after Jesus died and the church is formed in Pentecost, the Holy Spirit comes on the new church. This is Paul writing a letter to the Romans to tell them this is how doctrine is going to work. This is how Christianity works. This is God's purpose for the church. This is, can you know for sure you're going to heaven through salvation? Can only Jews be saved? He goes through just all these things that the brand new church, as they're starting, is trying to figure out. They're coming out of Judaism, but what rules are we following still? So it's a learning book. It's a teaching book. It's a book heavy in doctrine. And so don't let that intimidate you. I think this day and age, people will easily, oh yeah, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. Well, what do you believe? How do you know you're going to heaven? Do you know how to operate in the church? Do you know some of the things that the Lord did for you? And this book, Paul just does such a great job. It's a letter, it's an epistle, and it's his personal letter to people he loves and encouraging and exhorting them. And so as you read it, it's a learning book and you're learning, but it's really a sweet letter it ministers to you, and you see how much God has done for you and how much he loves you. So it's encouraging. So it's not just dry education, it's the word of God, and it's living and active. And even if you feel like you're pretty sound in doctrine, there's still more to be learned. And if you're new to Christianity and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I get into? That's okay. Like, you might not understand everything, but knowing more about the Lord is what he asks us to do. So do your lesson this week, lesson 1. There are personal questions, I think, every day toward the end of the lesson. And I think that those will be mostly what you guys discuss in your group questions. So as you're learning about that chapter and what God has done and what it's about, the end is how do you personally apply that to your life? And those are kind of the meat of your prayer group time and your discussion there is, the Lord really showed this to me or whatever. So, yeah, are there any questions on the schedule? We'll go through November 16th and we'll break for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we won't see you back here till January 11th. As you can see, we only get about halfway through Romans before we break. So we'll finish Romans in the spring. So there's that. Okay. Each Thursday when you come, you're going to come. We'll probably have name tags out there next week, and if there's anybody new next week, we'll kind of do some more registration. But you come and sit in here first, and we'll do the teaching, and then we'll break up into groups. And at the end of this time, I'll let you know what groups you're in, so don't worry about that. Or we'll put you in a group if you're not in one yet. But come in here first and hear the teaching. If you have kids in childcare, hopefully you got them there okay this morning and they're not wandering. No. But we're asking kind of ages 2 and under to go into the toddler room with Hannah in there. Today I have Dallas is in the pre-K room for kids kind of ages 3 and up. Starting next week, it'll be Alberta will be in there, and she's really great. It's kind of a long time that they're here, so if you want to pack a lunch or some heavier snacks, that's fine. We'll have like goldfish and things, but nothing too heavy. We just ask no peanuts. We have some kids with some severe peanut allergies, so if it can be like turkey and cheese instead of peanut butter and jelly, it's probably a better way to go. We need somebody who can play music. It's not me. So I have a couple ladies that are gifted singers, and we don't have anyone to play an instrument. So if that's you and you love to do that, we can keep YouTubing songs too. How we did this morning is fine. But there's something really neat about live music. So if it's just piano or whatever, I have singers. You don't even have to sing if you don't want to. Just let me know if the Lord's tapping you on the shoulder to do that. The study we're asking, I'm going back to that, study's $20, I forgot to mention that. So $20 fall and $20 spring. The book actually was about $29. So the $20 for fall actually doesn't quite cover our book costs. If you can't pay it, that's okay. It always works out every year. And so that's that. You can pay online if you need to. Our small groups, so if you guys, there should be 2 handouts you got. One says group discussion and prayer time. And I have to beg your forgiveness. Terry is so amazing and let me use her sheet. And she even said, make sure you edit, and I didn't. So for all of you editors out there, this is your time to shine this morning. Get your pen to just, but we'll kind of read through it today. And sorry. So we'll just start reading down that page. The first paragraph, the purpose of small groups is to learn and apply God's word in our lives. It is also to cause personal relationships, which will help meet spiritual, emotional, and physical needs. God encourages us to fellowship with one another, and the purpose of that is to edify one another in the word and to sharpen each other, all of those things. So it's a lot of fun to get together too, but the goal is truly through God's word to edify one another. So that's our goal, have women pray for each other. It's a great thing. Paragraph 2, each week's homework will be the basis of small group discussions. Call your leader if you're not sure which lessons due for the week. If you desire, you can give your leader your email address. I think a lot of you have those on your sign-up sheets, and your leaders have those. Okay, the next part, go ahead and start crossing out. Your leader probably will not be able to email you the lesson for that week. So because we have a book, you'll have the lesson in your book. We used to have studies where we'd hand out the lesson each week. So we're not doing that. You'll have the lesson, but if you're not sure, you can always ask your leader. And the teaching, if you do miss, the teaching will be on the website. We're going to record morning teachings. Because I homeschool and all of that, there's going to be 5 of us that rotate teachings. And so I'm excited about that. I think that we just have some really great women with that gift. And so it's going to be a little bit different this year. Terry will still teach, which is going to be super fun. And so, so it's going to be a little bit different this year, but those recording will be recorded in the morning and put on the website. So if you miss a week, you can watch that teaching. It'll be on the website. Thank you, Tina. All right. Please remember that you will have much more, or you will receive much more from Bible study and enjoy the discussion if you've done your homework. Please make every effort to do so. So I did Bible study back when I had like infants and newborns and toddlers, and like I get it. There's seasons of life where you're like just trying to zone out the screaming in the background some days. But it's important. Terry always talks about Taco Bell, and that the Word of God is not Taco Bell. But if you're only coming and hearing a teaching once a week or twice a week, your spiritual life is being fed Taco Bell. You're not healthy. You're not in the Word. And to really grow your faith and your relationship with the Lord, it requires quiet time with the Lord and personal time. And maybe it's not quiet with infants and toddlers. He works in those times too. But do everything you can, and just know that Satan does not, he wants to deter that time. And I found I'll get up, I'll do some laundry first, I'll do this first, pretty soon it's 11, 12, I'll make lunch real quick. And then it's like, oh man, I'm so tired, it's bedtime, and you didn't do it for the day. So think about your morning and be intentional, plan it, and don't eat Taco Bell. Not literally, spiritual Taco Bell. And I would encourage you, because there's 6 lessons start tomorrow. So think about your day tomorrow. What's a way you can incorporate lesson 1 tomorrow? Lesson 1's pretty easy. It's just there's an introduction, the first 2 pages. Usually the introduction's the first lesson, so it's just reading a couple pages and answering 2 simple questions. It's pretty quick. From there on out, lesson 1 will always be a review of the previous week. So as you start your new lesson in the week and you're like, wait, we just learned this, I just studied, what's happening? Lesson 2 will all be review of lesson 1, which I think is kind of sweet. You'll do your homework for lesson 1, have a teaching, and then you kind of get a little time at home to just kind of review again, what did the Lord teach you? And there's commentary in there, which is really good, by Ray Stedman. And you can just move on then to the new section from day 2 to day 6. So just be intentional. If you don't get your homework done, please still come, okay? There are weeks and there are days. We have situations in life that we're living life. And don't ever feel like, oh, I won't have anything to contribute to group. It'll be embarrassing. My book's blank. Just come. We want to still be praying for you. We want to see you. We want to have interaction. And if you can come and hear the teaching and still kind of know what to do for the next week and still learn something, I would say just stay connected. It's really easy that first time to I'll just catch up and do 2 lessons this week and go next, and then something happens and you don't. And pretty soon you don't come back anymore, and you're missing out on just so much. And so just be careful, because that's something too that Satan will just kind of, just don't go this week. And it's hard, makeup's optional, all the things, just come. Ponytail, bun, slippers, we don't care. Okay, so your small group time, the purpose of that is to discuss your questions, but also to pray for one another. And I think no matter what season of life you're in, whether you know it or not, you need someone praying for you. And it's so amazing during your week as you're having a hard time to know that other women are praying for you. And so it's a really big deal when you get to your group. You'll get a little prayer request sheet, and you can write down your prayer request for the week. And I had a thought and it went. I would just encourage you, even if you don't have, it doesn't have to be that's what I was going to say. It doesn't need to be, oh my gosh, so-and-so just died in my life. You don't have to have a crisis to be prayed for. It can just be I'm really struggling to have my quiet time every morning. Pray for me this week. Or my toddler's throwing tantrums every 5 minutes. Please pray for me. Or But don't be afraid to write something down. It says, please limit prayer requests to yourself, your family, and only in special circumstances, your close friends. The true purpose of this prayer time on Thursdays is for your own concerns, burdens, and spiritual growth. I would just really encourage you guys to be bold to ask for personal prayer. And don't be ashamed of that. The Lord, we're all weak, and we need people praying for us. We need people to help us. And if your struggle is doing your study in the morning, then have somebody pray for you. And I know when I had babies and toddlers at home and I'm stuck at home, somebody's thinking about me today and praying for me. It just really encouraged me that, sometimes you feel lonely in your walk. And so, but try as much as you can to keep those requests personal. There's always the temptation to my dog's brothers, uncles, cousins, ex-wife is really, but and while that's a need and you could pray for it, the goal is just to make sure each woman here is prayed for specifically. So try to keep it as personal as possible. On that note, all prayer requests are considered private and are not to go beyond the prayer group members. No idle discussion about another's request. This borders on gossip, okay? And so as Christians, I think our whole lives, we're just really going to have to be guarded about that. Did you hear about so-and-so? We need to pray for her. Well, so-and-so might not have wanted you to share that. That is gossip. And so all requests are confidential within the group. Terry always used the example, one year they had a group and a gal shared that her husband's looking for a job, and he hadn't even shared it with his boss or anything like that, and it became a big oh no, all these people know about it, and Bakersfield's kind of small, word gets out. And so if it is a request for your husband or his work, maybe ask him first if it's okay to share. But within your group, know that that's within your group. That's for you to go home and pray about for that person. It's not for you to go home and tell your husband, hey, you work with so-and-so's husband, right? Did you know he's looking for a job? Did you know, it's not for that purpose. So be very guarded against that. We want you guys to have peace and confidence that you can share personal things and they'll be prayed for, and they're not going to become church gossip or Thursday morning gossip. So be guarded about that. Also, after a prayer request is shared openly in the group, please try to refrain yourself from problem solving or giving personal counseling to the one that shared this request. I'm an expert at that. This is often tempting as we all want to encourage each other, but the power for change really comes from time spent in actual prayer. Time for encouragement and comparing stories can be done after the group. So it's just easy, you know what? There's a great medicine when you get a heel spur. I've tried it, and now you're discussing medications for heel spurs when really, we just need to pray about it or know that that's a concern, and you can share that afterward. I'm sure that, we all love to chat about those things. But just, be respectful of, that's that person's problem, and afterward maybe make a note that you want to talk to them about that. But we really want everyone to have time to share their request. Okay, the last thing, Terry told me that you guys have not had a fog delay in 5 years. I don't know. I think Bakersfield's so populated, maybe there's no more fog delay, or we just don't get rain anymore. I don't know. So if we happen to ever get a fog delay, if you wake up and it is super foggy and you're in the city, or you think Bakersfield City's having a fog delay and you see it that morning, we will not meet for Bible study, okay? And that's just kind of been, Terry's had that for a long time, and if it's that foggy in Bakersfield City School District, it's usually too foggy for ladies to safely get here. So if that so happens to happen after 5 years, then just be aware. And they'll just keep continuing. There won't be a teaching that week, then Bible study will be canceled, and just go on to the next lesson for the next week. The only other thing I wanted to add is we all have to be self-aware in groups. Some of us are talkers and chatters, and some of us hope and pray we don't have to say a word. And so be mindful of that. Think about what kind of person are you? Are you the kind that you really want to talk and you have something to say, and that's not a bad thing. God creates us all with those things. But in our group setting, the goal is really to give each woman a chance to say something, to talk. If somebody's going through something and the Lord really ministered to them that week and showed them something and they're desperate to share it, we don't want someone quiet who wants to share be just totally dominated by one person who won't stop talking. And so be mindful of that. And if you feel yourself talking too much, just stop and just, somebody else talk, And if you're introvert and quiet and you're afraid to say something, I just really encourage you to say something. All of us have different life experiences and have been through different things where the Lord has purpose in your sharing and your testimony and what he's doing in your life. And even if you're introvert, maybe an extrovert needs to hear it. So be sensitive to that. We always, I don't know if that was still a thing, but I know we used to squirrel. So if somebody gets on a tangent and you're like, what are we talking about? Shampoos and hair colors, like squirrel, and you can just call squirrel on them and let's reel the conversation. What were we talking about? Bring conversation back. So you all have my permission to just call squirrel on each other. And it's really funny. I think that's all I had. I guess my only other thing I didn't mention is it's important to get to groups quick and to wrap up groups on time. So the child care workers are paid by the church, and the clock, they're supposed to be out of here at a certain time. So if your group time's going an extra 15, 20 minutes, that worker actually is working longer and not being paid for it, and they're not able to go home. So just be sensitive to that. We do kind of give you about 5 quick minutes to get to break. If you need to use the restroom and get to your group, go ahead and do that, but just don't stop and chat. There is one group that meets in the sanctuary, and there's a huge temptation, I know her, but let them have their group, get to your group, and just be mindful of people's time. So the longer you take away from that group, the less prayer time you get, the less discussion time, and it's really important. I did want to also, just as we have group time, Romans is a doctrinal book, and there are going to be differences of opinion. Scholars still disagree on things in Romans, and we're going to do our best to vet through those things as we teach. But be respectful. This is not, a time to prove someone wrong, or, it's a conversation that can be had, a discussion afterward or something like that. So just be careful of that. There will be differences of opinion, and Pastor Kenny would always challenge us, is it a salvation issue? And sometimes if it's not a salvation issue, maybe, if it is a salvation issue, then yeah, you can have that conversation afterward, or, and lovingly talk about it, but just be really careful. We're all learning, we all come with different doctrinal beliefs, and we'll be teaching through those things as best as we can, but let's just be respectful, not to make anyone feel too awful. Ladies, I didn't get, yeah, Della. Yes. I think leaders, did you guys decide we're just going to do groups this year? Was there consensus? I know today I think it's by group. Some groups will wait till next week. Okay. Okay, so you will not have snack until you get to group time. So if you are starving, bring your food in the morning to make it to group time, and it'll be amazing. And then, yeah, come spring, we'll figure it out. So thank you, guys. Are there any other questions? Yes, Chris. Yes, 11:45 is when we're all done. Anything else? Yes, Della? I think so. Sure. Thank you so much. Terry is making copies, and thank you, Terry. Okay, any other questions? Okay, yes, Mary. Yes, we ran out of books which is crazy. I ordered 100. So we copied chapter 1. So if you did not get a book today, we're going to send home lesson 1 with you today. And then come next week, and I'll order more books. They just come from Ventura, so they come really quickly. So come next week, and we'll have more books. But for today, you'll be covered. So, and if you know someone who couldn't make it today, we'll put the extras out in the sanctuary. So on Sundays, they could grab this if they didn't get a book today. Anything else? Okay, I'll dismiss you guys by group.